Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. We have a very, very special guest with us, Mr. McCarthy, the Schenectady mayor over here.
Rabbi, it's a pleasure to be here. It's my first time here in the Albany Public Access Studio.
They let you out of Schenectady? You have to...
Once you called, we came right over.
Right.
You and Mark put the word out.
Well, Gary and I know each other for many years. We both went. We overlapped a little bit at SUNY Albany, but then his brother, I've known his brother while we were going to college, and it was just friendship that just flourished. And we have a lot in common. We both like politics, both like fundraising. So.
He's the mayor, and
I'm not. I'm a schlub. But he was in the city.
Good friend.
Yeah, that's right. You were in the city council for many years, and
I was.
And then you rose to be the leader of the city council?
It was a couple of times. We rotate the presidency of the city council in Schenectady. The council members are elected at large, and then the council president is elected from the membership of the council. So I served one time before and was serving again when Brian Stratton took a job with the Cuomo administration.
He was the mayor before you, and then he
Correct.
became head of the Canal Corporation.
Correct, and so I then assumed the duties of mayor, was acting mayor for a while, ran for the position, and was elected in November of 2011, just completing my second year as mayor now.
And you're not acting anymore. You're not
acting.
You're not an actor.
No,
it's a real thing.
Yes.
Let me ask you. I'm not from here. But and I don't live in Schenectady. People always tell me, the Jewish people in Schenectady, oh, Rabbi, the older people. After around World War II, Schenectady, you couldn't even walk down the streets. There was so many people because of the war efforts and GE, and now went downhill. I mean, that's just their general.
Well,
take
again,
on
GE is it's kind of a classic old Northeast industrial city. Where had the proud history, a lot of employment with GE, Alco. And again, as you point out, in the late 60s, 70s, that began to decline as we saw manufacturing move out of the United States to foreign countries. GE in Schenectady has made substantial reinvestments in the last few years. They've put a new battery plant there. Their global research and development facility is located just outside of Schenectady in Niskayuna.
And the president came to GE.
Has been to GE. So we've seen a reinvestment in a turnaround. So there's actually growth in employment there. We have literally several $100 million in new investment in downtown.
But
Proctor's.
there's a revitalization going on. For sure, there's a revitalization of Schenectady going on. But when you get the old timers having a perception and you get them kvetching, they don't want to change their perception. That's what happens. But you're right. I mean, I've seen a real turnaround, and I go to Schenectady for the holiday parade that you have, which I think is really nice, that the floats and all the people come out. And I go to Proctor's for plays. I mean, there's an attraction. I wouldn't go there for a movie, but you got a nice new movie theater there, and you got the DMV and DOT, and you got state agencies. And
there's restaurants. Again, Proctor's now is drawing about 650,000 people a year to that facility. And it's not only just the main stage. There's the Black Box Theater. There's different venues within what I call the Proctor's campus.
That's right.
Last year they had, Philip Morris was just doing a presentation recently. He said they had 1,730 events at Proctor's. So there's always something going on there. It's really exciting, and as you point out, we have a movie theater down the street, the Bowtie Cinema, which is very successful in what's referred to as the 400 block of Schenectady has really seen a dramatic turnaround.
Now, what's the clothing Rudniks? They're downsizing, I mean, dramatically, but they're still going to have a presence.
They're, yes, they,
Jewish-owned
again,
business,
it was an old family business, and they, again, it's part of the evolutionary nature of it, where they've changed their focus. And again, that's the 300 block, and this year we're just completing the revitalization of Erie Boulevard. which runs from GE going a generally northerly direction. It was an older street. We've modernized that, made it attractive so that it will complement, again, what's happened on State Street. And again, there's a lot of interest in development along Erie Boulevard. The rehab of Erie Boulevard took longer than probably any of us would have liked, but it's the nature of some of these construction projects. But that also held up some development. Nobody wants to do a new business or put up a new building to have your front yard dug up for 2 years. So hopefully with that done, we're going to see some additional activity on Erie Boulevard. And next spring, we will start to focus on State Street from Erie Boulevard down to Schenectady Community College.
Now, of course, we can't forget Union College. That's a huge employer, I'm sure.
It
and
is.
You have MVP headquarters in Schenectady.
Correct.
I mean, you got some.
How much is it in the Golub Corporation? Didn't they have, I mean, again,
They
built
took
a
and
new
moved their
headquarters.
corporate headquarters from
Eastern Avenue.
their distribution center in Rotterdam,
Right.
and they've put up a new, it's roughly 280,000 square feet facility on Knott Street, just off Erie Boulevard, kind of the northern end of Schenectady, and that's just somewhat adjacent to the Union College campus. So it's, again, we're seeing sequential and incremental growth throughout the community. And we're trying to take the commercial growth and now move it into the neighborhoods. So it's really my big challenge is to attract, what I look for is just middle-class people to move back to the city.
Now, we talked about the good parts. Now let me ask you about some of the not-so-good parts. There's always good parts. There's just some not-so-good. Hamilton Hill, the influx of Guyanese immigrants, are they still coming in, or is that leveled off? And what other sections of Schenectady do you see a real need for improvement?
Well, again, it's the residential component is the primary focus that I'm trying to bring people here. Talk about the negative. Last year, 2012, our overall Part 1 crime rate was down about 9%. This year, sometimes it was running down 20%. We won't finish this year with quite that good of numbers, but again, Part 1 crimes are down again. We're approaching things in a more coordinated manner with our policing, our code enforcement, so we're starting to see results. The decline of these urban areas didn't happen overnight. We won't turn them around overnight, but it's again, a systematic approach of dealing with the problems
Are you comfortable with your police chief and what the police department's doing?
Yes, I have a fairly new chief, Brian Kilcullen, and one of the things we're doing is using data to drive the deployment of the police force. It's DDAX is the kind of the acronym, but it takes police data, crime data, and we deploy the police in a more sophisticated manner, and we're seeing the results. Again, we had decline in Part 1 crimes for 2 years in a row, and believe the real benefit over the long term will be working with the police department and our code enforcement to go after some of the problem properties and problem landlords that created environments that are just undesirable and really foster some of the criminal activity.
So that's Hamilton Hill is the basic neighborhood that...
Well,
is
Hamilton
that the
Hill
only...
has some problems. It's an area that people focus on. I've tried not to do things where we pit one neighborhood against each other. We're working together, so we look at each neighborhood for their strengths, their weaknesses.
Well, what strengths does Hamilton Hill have and what weaknesses do they have?
Well, the strengths are it's very close to downtown, where we have seen this dramatic resurgence and reinvestment in the community. Hamilton Hill used to be one of the prime neighborhoods in Schenectady because of its geographic closeness to General Electric, where all the jobs were. People worked there. Some of that marketing now, if you look at where we have 890 that runs through the city, in terms of where Schenectady somewhat is still a bedroom community of Albany, where people commute to Albany for their primary employment, You can be on 890 and be in downtown Albany in 17 or 18 minutes.
Okay.
That beats out anything in terms of Clifton Park, Southern Saratoga, other places. So there's an element of convenience there. Yes, there's an element of negative, but you've got a lot of good people that live there, and I want to take and...
But it's the highest concentration of your crime rate is in Hamilton Hill, is that not correct?
Yes,
Okay.
They're in Central State Street, so it depends on which crime you're talking about and which census tract.
I talk about murders and homicides?
No.
No. Where is the highest rate of murders and suicide?
Well,
homicides?
our murder rates have dropped.
9%, you said.
No,
No.
Part 1 crimes.
Which
Those are
is?
the most serious crimes.
Well,
Those are,
what more serious than murder? That's what I
yes,
thought.
and that's one of them. But that goes from rape, robbery, burglary, auto theft.
Auto
So
theft
there's
is
a
lumped in with murders?
long
Okay.
list. But murder, it's not in Hamilton Hill, and that's the most hardest to predict. So you have
Okay.
that in again. Central State Street can happen anywhere, anytime. So
Now, what
it's
about-
when everything else has
I-
failed in society.
I hear something about Vale Cemetery. I don't know what the neighborhood is called, but is that a good neighborhood around Vale Cemetery?
The general demographics are as you come out of downtown and go up State Street, on the right-hand side, it's Hamilton Hill. On the left-hand side, it would be the Vale neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So we've had a reinvestment, again, in Vale, where there's been a lot of, over the last 8 or 10 years, housing rehabilitations. They've gone in, rehabbed houses, and also put up some new houses, some very energy efficient houses. They're very green, and again, it's that incremental improvement where we're slowly chipping away at and recruiting people to come back there to live, and really looking for, again, a middle-class neighborhood, looking for middle-class people to come back and be property owners.
And when you go around the around the city of Schenectady, what do you hear from the folks that they want you to focus on? It's not traffic problems.
Anywhere, well, yes, when you, you laugh a little bit at that, but usually when you actually talk to people, like, people complain about cars speeding, or
Okay.
people are running red lights or other things, but the big problem in New York State is property taxes. You know, and that's something that in local government, no matter where you are, people complain about property taxes.
Tell me about your property taxes. I mean, are you under the 2% tax cap that?
Yes, but last year and this year put forth budgets that
Kudos.
were under the 2% tax cap. Again,
Okay.
trying to manage the overall city budget. Our problem is we sold tax liens in the past where they weren't doing collections, and it's really absentee landlords and people who weren't paying the taxes. Schenectady historically would budget 1.5% to 2% for an uncollectability or really late payers. You would get the money 2 years down the road. Last year I budgeted 15%. This year we've seen some improvements, so we're budgeting 13%. But that's 13% uncollectible, and that creates pressure on the overall budget. So if everybody would just pay at a historical level, I'd be telling you we could have a 10% across the board tax reduction. That won't happen overnight, but we have to go through this because we've got all this distressed property. We've got to take it in, we've got to do foreclosures, take the title of the property, and then market the property back. And been very fortunate to have a number of banks and realtors who've stepped forward in putting together a broad package, and Schenectady, call it our HOMES program. It's Home Ownership Made Easy in Schenectady. The first bank that came forward was Key Bank a little over 2 years ago. They modified their mortgage package where they would loan at a 100% value of the house, and really it was $500 down, and they would loan up to $50,000 above the appraised price of the house. This is in the initial mortgage package.
And that was a few years, that was
right,
like...
we're still doing it.
No, but I was at the news conference. In
Correct.
Schenectady. Was Schumer there? Is that one with Senator Schumer?
No.
There was one with Senator Schumer that came out.
Was a different one.
Different home ownership program? Okay.
Right.
Because he's really high on the home ownership issue
Correct.
in Schenectady, too. Yeah.
It's really, I think, the key to all these urban areas. But KeyBank would have this, and they would loan up to $50,000 above the appraised value of the house so that you could take these older homes, go in and
remodel them.
exactly, fix up the kitchen, put in a new bathroom, put in windows, a furnace. And we've had in excess of 100 individuals take advantage of that mortgage package. We've had other banks come up with different incentives to, again, make it a little bit more creative and deal with some of the distressed housing in Schenectady. So I feel very fortunate. We've got a lot of realtors, a lot of the banking community working together. And then the press conference that you referenced where Senator Schumer came in, we've applied for a loan package through Housing and Urban Development, which will give us the money to demolish really the worst of the worst property. We've got a lot of property that have been, buildings that have been there for multiple years, many years, sometimes a decade, exactly, where they've been sitting there. They're beyond the point of rehabilitation, and they create such a negative influence on the adjacent property. You may have a house that's fairly good shape across the street, or one next door that needs a little bit of work, and I can go to you and make a pitch to you to sell you that house, but you don't want to buy the house when you've got this burned out building that's sitting there that adds no value. There's no hope of fixing it up, and so we're going to go through and with that we're finalizing that actual package, and we'll demolish again the worst of the worst property. That will have the impact of increasing the value of everybody else's property in the city.
You know why that's huge? I'll tell you. Because those homes, most of the homes in Schenectady, and I've been in a lot of them, not most, but a lot of them, they're not built for the way we live today. You know, we live, and I have this same problem in Albany. You know, you look at these beautiful homes in Albany, and there's a one-car garage. And we don't live with one car in the family anymore. And we have, you know, a lot of the older homes didn't have linen closets because you put the linens and other clothes underneath the bed in drawers, underneath the bed. You know, we got to build homes the way we live today. And then you'll get people moving to Schenectady instead of Clifton Park, and because you have the road structure, you have a lot of the good infrastructure, you have a lot of, but I tell you, I hope that, you know, you level a lot more homes in Schenectady because, and I say this to people from Albany too, level it, build new, because there's a lot new, you know, security systems and other things that you can really have in a house that's new that you can't have in an older home.
Yes, even though you point out good points where the old housing isn't really what people want today.
No, they don't.
In Schenectady, we have what's referred to as our old two-family house. In that format is not attractive in today's market. But if you convert that to a one-family house, you have a lot of space there.
Yes, you do.
And you can be creative, and people have gone in, modified some of these, and you actually get a house that has a little bit of character. It's designed to whoever the homeowners, what they want. Do they want a little bit bigger kitchen? Do they want fancier fixtures in the bathroom? Again, it's taking a house and making it a home.
Well, isn't it easier to demolish and to build new than to rehab?
No, you have to, each one of those you have to work through the scenario. So sometimes it's more cost effective clearly to rehab. Sometimes the houses are too far gone, so yes, demolition is the way to go. And it's, I tell people, the analysis is like if you're doing a $5 million deal, but it's really a $150,000 deal where you have to look at the title issues, you got to look at environmental things, it's an old property, it's distressed, you have to walk through it, and it's a slow, again, methodical process that we're using to turn it around.
I tell you, I just, I wish you the best with the housing in Schenectady, because I think, you got a golden opportunity, and, you have a lot of great, Route 146 and Route 5 and Highway 890 and,
But you look at New York City, I mean, I've been around for many years since, even though I'm 29 years old. But, I remember they were giving up on New York City. Oh, it's a slum, especially in the Hasidic, where the Orthodox area. So the Orthodox Jews in a slum, but used to be, again, nice. They're ready to write it all off. And now, you can't even, a piece of junk over here is $1 million.
Right.
Brownsville. Townhouses in Brownsville, in Brooklyn, going for $1 million. I was shocked.
Right,
You would
one
never
time you couldn't give them away.
That's right.
Now,
no one would even step
you
forward.
need to have an inside connection to even get to put the $1 million offer in.
Let's hope that happens with Schenectady.
And I hope so too. But I think we're fortunate just in the capital region, where GE is making investments there. You've got Global Foundries up in Malta. You've got nanotech here in
That's
Albany.
what I was going to ask. Do you have any runoff from there? Not just the residential, but maybe businesses? I mean, again, I'm not asking from knowledge. Just I think it's so close, like you say. That
it is.
maybe
We're all interdependent. Albany, Schenectady, Troy, Saratoga. We're not that far apart. So when something good happens one place, we all benefit from it. And I think we're all fortunate, just the level of activity that is happening within the region now. Again, we're positioning ourselves for long-term growth.
Do you have any stories you can relate to us of the synagogues that you've been to, or the events you might have been to in the Jewish community in Schenectady? I can get you invited to a whole lot of things in Schenectady.
Well, you have to get me invited to more.
Okay, all right.
For the a road race at Temple.
Did you go to the Carrot Festival at Agudath?
I was, and I was at Temple Gates of Heaven. Had trying to think of they do a fundraiser for one of the charity runs.
Yeah.
We do a number of 5K races through Schenectady, through Central Park.
Do you run? Are you jogging?
I walk fast.
You walk fast? Okay.
All those synagogues.
You and I'll have to go in one of those, Mark.
Okay,
We'll see
absolutely.
what we can do.
The 3 synagogues are all in Schenectady. They're not
Yes.
in Niskayuna. They're in Schenectady.
Well, actually,
Agudath Achim might be in Niskayuna,
yes.
but I think
Temple Gates of Heaven is just inside the city.
inside the city, and so is Beth Israel.
Yes.
And then you have the Chabad House on Union at Seward Place,
Correct.
by Union College. So
Correct.
if you don't know the folks over at the Chabad House, I'll bring you over. So, but that's good that you've been, trying to get around, and there's a lot going on. And
There is. In part
the
of
Jewish community in Schenectady, people take for granted. They don't think that there's much going on, but there is.
And that's, I look at it where, growing up as a kid, your neighborhood was defined by the school you went to and the church you were involved with. And so part of my messaging going out is to the religious community, it happens to be the synagogue or church, whatever, that we all have to play a little bit more of an active role in assuming responsibility for our neighborhoods. The religious communities now, again, it's talking about we don't have the one car anymore. People drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be, again, there was more of a neighborhood
feeling for them.
Exactly. And we'll probably never get back to that, but I don't think that we can forget that. And we have to look at that as again, part of the long-term solution where we're creating value in the neighborhoods. And you do that by people assuming some responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And
whether it's government, whether it's neighborhood groups, whether it's faith-based, everybody doing a little has the cumulative impact that makes us all look good.
And do you have any kids?
I do not.
You do not?
No.
Oh, okay. And you were married? You're married now?
Yes, met my wife on the board at Channel 16, Public Access.
Oh.
We've been married a little over 5 years.
Public access is a good matchmaking.
You just never know what's going to happen here
That's
at Public
very good.
Access.
And tell us more about your background. And you went to Linton High School, which is now
Community
Schenectady
College,
High
SUNY
School.
at Albany, and then spent 30 years as an investigator in the Schenectady County District Attorney's Office.
Wow.
So politics was kind of my hobby,
Yeah, well, on the sideline.
Yes.
And then you jumped in when you ran for the city council.
Exactly.
You never wanted the county legislature.
No.
It's all the city. It's all about Schenectady for you.
Exactly.
You are the epitome of the Schenectady. Who do you think it was over the years between Ducey and Jasinski and Karen Johnson? You know, who was the best mayor that you thought of? That, you know, it's party of labels aside.
Everyone has their individual strength, and I believe history determines
Right.
the strength. And you look at Karen did some of the things in terms of saving proctors, brought, One Broadway Center was the first, it's a 9-story building downtown. So everybody's done a little bit, and it's, again, hopefully we continue to build on that. We've got now a unified economic development team in place, so the county is working with the city, have a good working relationship with the school district, which is another key component to getting people to move back to communities. They've got to feel that there's value in the school district and that they want to send their children there. So,
Well, it's a good school. I mean, I had a friend of mine who worked as a librarian at the Schenectady schools, and you know, she thought it was fine. She really liked it, and but they had to do cutbacks, and librarians in schools was one of those
well, in
services.
Schenectady, we have, if you look at the offerings within the district, they meet or exceed the suburban districts, because you've got a much more challenging student population. They also have the IB program at the high school, so it's the International Baccalaureate, which is one that kids pay tuition from outside the city to come and attend. So again, there's a lot of unique things there. There's a lot of good things, but again, you have a number of kids who come out of single-parent houses, parents where there's drug or alcohol or factors, individuals where they're below the poverty level. So the kids have a lot of complicated things that they deal with before they get to school, and it makes it a much more challenging task for the teachers to again make it competitive and move them through the system.
Now, you mentioned Schenectady County Community College. You're going to have, or you have an office or a program in downtown Albany that's sort of expanding into the 112 State Street building.
Correct. The community college, Mayor Jennings, Dan McCoy from Albany worked with the leadership at Schenectady Community College, set that up, and I think it's again,
You were in the loop in that?
superficially.
Superficially? Are you proud of that happening?
Yes,
Yeah.
because what it does is it, again, increases the educational opportunities within the Capital District. And we talk about all the growth that's occurring at GE or Nanotech or Global Foundries. You've got to have the skill set of the employees to be able to fill the needs. Those companies don't recruit locally. They recruit globally, so that we have to provide really the best people locally if we want to get those jobs. And by having the community college within the, not only Schenectady Community College, but Hudson Valley, they have the flexibility to adapt their programs to provide that 1-year, 2-year training to fill the needs of the skilled workforce that these companies demand and are looking for.
Now, one of the newer programs at Schenectady County Community College is the culinary arts program. It's been around for a while, but it's really taken hold recently, you know, in the past decade.
It's
where,
been there long established. What they
you know, but
have,
that's their specialty.
their modification might be is they're now doing a gaming program. So as New York State has just set forth the process to cite a number of casinos throughout the state.
You can learn how to,
Schenectady Community
you
College
can learn
will
how to
have, yes, to
roll the
actually
dice. They're rolling the dice on this one.
and hope it's going to come up a big winner.
Yeah.
But again, that shows where we're going to have that ability to help provide that workforce for casinos, not only in this region, but across the state.
Well, I just want you to know the president of Schenectady County Community College, who's just stepped down, is I saw him at an event, and I told him that I wanted a kosher program about cooking kosher food, and that they could do that, and it's one of the hottest sections of culinary arts now, and he wanted to know more about it. Then he steps down.
Yeah.
And he was really curious about how to make that happen.
Well, we'll make sure that gets followed up.
Please
on,
do.
Because
Okay.
that's a lot of that is it's filling those niche markets.
Yes.
And you want to.
Well, kosher, right, Rabbi? You can attest to kosher
Yeah,
food.
kosher
maybe?
is growing. It's a real
Yes.
growth market over here. For even not, it's not only for Jews. There's for non-Jews.
Yes,
People are really
it's
into
really in New York State that it's a
big
National.
market.
Like-
Big
yes.
market.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like Mark, we're out of time, but we're going to wish the
Gary.
mayor of Schenectady, Gary, that should continue the good work and grow in Schenectady. We want to come back with you give a good report, how everything's booming in Schenectady, and only the best of luck to you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thanks for
Appreciate the
coming on.
opportunity to be here, and we'll have to get you over to Schenectady and shoot a show there at
Excellent.
Open Stage Media.
Okay.
take
Thank you.